am a master on the mixing board. I need it to fade away, though. Kind of gets awkward when it just stops. What's up, everybody? Yes, this is our third podcast of the season. That's 3 more than I think we did last year.
If I was a betting man, I would have lost money already.
All right. Good morning, guys. Thanks for all the comments. We did a post yesterday asking, what do you guys want to hear from us? And we've got just a huge list of things that you guys are wanting to hear from us for this season. And so we'll start checking them off. And one of them was we want to hear more about Shit Creek and all the adventures that we have here at BBA, which that's pretty easy to talk about, isn't it, Blaine?
It is, because it's about every day.
It is actually literally every day. As I was reading the comments to Blaine yesterday, Blaine's like, dude, we got to talk about the log day. And I'm like, you got to be a little more specific about the log day. We're going to, Blake, our media guy, he's going to be mixing a bunch of our videos that we have off of our phone. This was kind of a phone day. It was just one of those ones like, if you didn't have your phone out, you were going to miss something.
Yep.
I mean, there was just carnage everywhere.
There was a lot of YouTube gold for sure.
A lot of YouTube gold. So let's just jump right into it. And so this was a day in February. We had a ripper group with us, and it's funny. We've been doing BBA since 2008 now. We've shifted our program a bunch over the last few years, really focusing on, our day one is boot camp, kicking your butt, fixing the technique mishaps that you have to get you to become a real rider, riding the sled, not the sled riding you. Blaine, it's funny, you've been here as a client and now you're a guide here and you've got to see full circle the program.
Oh, absolutely. And it's, you get humbled out here quick. I mean, this is definitely some different snow. I mean, I'm riding in Rabbit Ears is cheater snow compared to this. A lot of hollow, sugary snow out here, and the terrain is so steep.
Yep. I think it's interesting. The very first year you came here, it was kind of just right in our transition of hey, we need to have a little more structure instead of just going and getting people stuck all day. Because that's kind of what your 3 days was about, wasn't it?
Yep. Yeah, we were stuck every day. It was nice to do those drills and stuff. I mean, I came in as a guide on the second trip, and I was a guide over in Steamboat. And just seeing how you guys structured things, it really changed the way I looked at riding and looked at guiding, and just was able to take that and transfer it over to my guiding with other people and help them learn how to ride.
Well, and really that was about 6 or 7 or 8 years ago now, and it's amazing. We have this crazy thing called repeat clients for the last 6 or 7 or 8 years because guys actually feel like they get a value out of our program now instead of just getting stuck. They're like, why am I paying to get stuck all the time? And so it's something that. Are you kidding, Blake? Did you get any of that food in your mouth? Jesus, dude, get the broom out. God. Sorry, cut. Let's get back and focus here. So, and the reason I kind of went off on this whole big tangent was the reason we had a ripper group is these are guys who have been here for 5+ years. And so, and we'll talk about it and we'll point it out in some of these videos that Blake will put up. We've got one particular person that we've actually talked on a couple of podcasts about, Joe Montemare. Joe literally came in here and I questioned if he had ever ridden a snowmobile. He told me he had, but what he was doing on a snowmobile was not how you ride a snowmobile. And now literally we have to be careful with Joe. We have to make sure we put him in a group that's good enough.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. And so, to have Joe in here, we had Ben from Northern Colorado, who's an absolute ripper. We had Connor. So Connor and his dad came back. Dad won't ride with me anymore. Jared, jerk. But I love him, and he gives me a hard time all the time. But Connor, his son, a ripper. We had him in the group. We had Justin from Canada. Justin literally drives 8 million kilometers. I don't even know how much that is, but many kilometers to come out here all the way from Canada to ride with us here in Colorado, which is amazing. I mean, we just had a killer group, and when you have a group like that, here's what happens as a guide, right? Your possibilities or opportunities of where we can go ride is like, I mean, I had been thinking about where to go for 4 days prior. Like, okay, where am I going to take this group? And I'm all excited.
Yeah, and I remember I think it was a couple groups before, you pointed up at this chute and you're like, we need to go up there someday. And you just see the tight trees, and the very top you see a little chute. You're like, oh yeah, that'd be neat to check that out someday.
Yeah, and in the back of your mind, you're looking at it like, dude, there's like a foot of snow up there. I'm like, yeah, exactly. and so this was, so I'll kind of paint the picture and we'll get rolling here in the story. So, we have about a 6 mile trail ride in, and at obviously the snow level is a little bit lower as we're in the parking lot, and then as you get higher it gets better. And so again, thinking to my group and pointing this out to Blaine a couple weeks ago, I'm like, today's the day. Today is the day we're gonna go dip in there. And so this little particular zone, it's just like what Blaine was explaining. So it's these tight, crappy, annoying trees with a bunch of blowdown and logs and all that stuff in the bottom of it. So it's a pain in the butt to even get to the mouth of the chute. And then once you get there, this particular elevation on our mountain, the snow is absolutely horrendous. Like, it is pure sugar. Like, and I'm talking like, you pick it up, it's that granular sugar snow, which again just puts a grin on my face. I know what we're gonna get into.
Yeah, I had no idea that day.
Okay, so all junk in the bottom, and then you get to like the promised land, and you can't just like wiggle your way through the downfall and then like, oh cool, an opening, I'll pin it and go. With the sugar snow, there is no like just creeping around and like, oh, okay, we can go. You have to come out of those trees with your hair on fire to carry as much momentum as possible to stay on plane, essentially, of this sugar snow. And you're really not. Like, literally, I have the GoPro of my first line going up there, which, again, first line, no trenches, no anything. I have home field advantage. I know where the logs are. Thanks to Connor from the year before, I knew there was a big down log that had been cut. You'll see that in a video. It's hilarious. And so, I had been like mentally doing this line in my head for 4 days. Like, I knew exactly what I needed to do, sneak up through the clearing, and then through the clearing, and no one actually got to see the next part because we all just focused on getting through the clearing, right? It gets tight again on the trees, and then a bunch of BS, and then you can kind of get up to the very top. And so I put the first clean line in there, and then I came down to watch the carnage. And that's where you see a lot of the footage from, is me like from the top.
Yeah, so you don't see any of the footage of me at the bottom, just crawling over trees and logs and knee-deep snow.
Getting 18 people out.
Pulling skis. And, I remember the first guy that went through, he completely cleaned off this log, and he slid sideways. So it's like 6 feet of a bare log, and it's probably 3 or 4 feet off the ground. And there's no way around it. Like, you have to get the rest of the group over. And Chris is at the top, like, where are you guys at? What's going on? I'm like, I'm already sweating bullets here. Like, I think this is one of the first trips that I was a sweep guide for you. So I'm trying to get everybody pulled out quick. And it's just, I got 6 guys down here all stuck. And they're like, where are we going? And I'm like, we're going up to Chris. And he's like,
apparently.
Well, what's up there? Like, we can barely get our skis through these trees. Like, what are we doing? And I've never been there before. So I'm like, I don't know, but we're going up. Like,
welcome to running sweep with Mr. Burandt, right?
Oh, it's a workout.
Yeah. So you put it perfectly. So like, okay, I put the line up there, and yes, I take all the snow off of everything, right? So now it's all these exposed logs and everything. Blake's just grinning back there like, yeah, I've been there. And so it's like, okay, like, and as the sweep guy back there, you are like the words of encouragement, right? Like, come on, guys, it's just all you got to do is just get up over this one little deal. And the problem with this one was it wasn't just one over log, right? Like it was
like 12, and I had never seen it before, so I couldn't even give me heads up. So I was like, just go follow the track to Chris, and they go, 4 feet, get stuck again, go pull them out, and there's just no traction. You're just spinning on ice.
So I finally make my way down because I realize no one's coming up for me to video them.
Yep.
So I come back down. We get everybody kind of like to what I guess we could call our staging area, right? We ended up putting a loop in there so you didn't have to go all the way back down to the bottom into the like real shitville. So we get kind of a little turnaround spot, and it ends up being a disaster too, because it's just like these huge trenches, and you got to carry momentum around the trenches. And you got one video here where Justin's like, all right, here comes Justin, and he like can't even get around the turnaround because again, like here's what happens, right? It's first thing in the morning. This is like literally first line.
Yeah, no warm-ups.
No warm-ups.
The only warm-up we had was on the trail.
Zero warm-ups, and I'm just throwing these poor guys to the wolves. And this is what happens. You get stuck 3 or 4 times right in a row. It rattles your confidence. It makes you hesitate. It doesn't allow you to carry momentum. So all of this is happening to everybody.
Yep. And we don't know where we're going.
And you guys don't know where you're going. So, okay. So we get to the staging area, and now like we're finally getting some guys up to the like clearing. Okay, the clearing. And the clearing is like riddled with a bunch of trees that have been cut from years past to get through, stumps, logs, like all of this stuff. And so there's a couple things that vividly play in my mind, and we have it backed up by video. One is when we have like 14, we only had a group of 6, but we had 3 guys like in the crap, like all stuck upside down, spun, all this stuff. And then we have the one of Connor.
Yeah, that was a good one. And finally I get to this clearing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, the hard work is done. And no, it just continued from there, just stuck after stuck. And I hadn't even seen it yet. And I'm just like, what is going on up there? Like, how bad
yeah,
could
you
it
hadn't
be?
even seen it. That's what's funny. Like, the sweep guy in the back, you don't want to leave your wingman, right? So you're like trying to get everybody up to the zone so you can get to a spot where you can poke your head past them and see what the heck, where are we going?
Yep.
Right.
And I think it was finally at this like point where I realized, like, you don't have to stop at every stuck client. You can go past them, make a line, and come back down for them. So I think I got to that point where everybody had a couple tries at the hill, and I was like, I got to go see what's going on up there. So I went up there. I almost got stuck, but got turned around, came back down. I was just like, we shouldn't be here. What are we doing?
Man, if I had $1 for every time I've heard that. Okay, so you've made a couple runs. We go back down. We're pulling skis, and at this point now, for me, like, and this is the part I love about again having a group like this, and not only from the skill set standpoint, but more of the attitude. Right? I've had plenty of guys that just get pissed off when I'm in stuff like that, but this group is like, it is smiles and hooting and hollering and high-fiving and like.
The motivation to get to the top is awesome. And that's what keeps us going too. It's like, all right, you're stuck for the 8th time, but you're excited. You want to go at it again. Let's get you turned around.
All they're doing is looking. And so with that, right? Like, so Connor has competed on the rimshot circuit, on the hill climb, and he's a rider, young kid rider. And so, me jabbing Connor a little bit, it gets him fired up. And I'm up sitting mid-hill with my phone, and I hear Connor fire up. I'm like, okay, here we go. And I hear him in the bottom, and, we have the talk, right? I'm like, dude, you can't build momentum on this hill. You have to hope to maintain what you built from the bottom.
Yep.
So here he comes, and he is smoking through the bottom, and I'm like, yes. And all of a sudden, mid-hill, he starts going left. I'm like, No. We don't go left. Can't go left. And he just is like, I don't know where he's going, but he's going there 90.
Yeah.
And when I showed you the clip, both of us, because
it was 90 to a brick wall scorpion. Like
Connor comes in 80 miles an hour, not really knowing the line to go, but he listened to what I said. He had the momentum, but he smokes a freaking stump bigger than crap, flies over the handlebars, cranks his A-arm. So now we got a bent A-arm. But I mean, that didn't slow him down. He still turned around and he ended up getting through to the right. So, here I am in the video, which you guys will see, but me describing, okay, that was good momentum, but we got to go right, guys. We got to go right. Connor, pick up your face off of the ground, get back down there and get up this thing.
Yeah, way to break that fall with your face.
So we have that. We've got Ben on his 154 Shredder Lynx Turbo, which was just a handful.
It was,
especially in this stuff, right? He comes around the corner, no skis on the ground, like brushes one tree, comes back into the line, over in the powder, and I'm like, where is this guy going? Sees Joe in the middle of the line, loops it back over on top of himself. Oh, man.
Yeah, that was a good time. And then just after that, I think a couple more guys started and gave it a shot. And I'm like in the middle of the run. And I got 2 or 3 guys stuck with me upside down. We're rolling them back over, just sweating bullets. And here comes Chris coming up. And I'm like, oh, yes, I got some help. And I thought we were going to get run over. Like near-death experience, comes over, just makes the turn around us, and then goes back up to the top. And we're like, okay, that would have been nice to have a hand there. But you did come back down and help clear everything. And
well, a couple things I saw. Anytime you see someone stuck, it's like, ooh, I got to show them that they shouldn't have got stuck right there and you can make it, right?
Yep.
B, I saw like 2 helmets. And I'm like, that's an opportunity to smoke 2 helmets in one shot. I may have got 1, maybe 2, I don't know.
I think you might have buried 1.
I think I got 1.
Yeah.
And then you get the opportunity to make the fun giggle on your way by. But sometimes that works for me, and most of the time it backfires, and I get stuck or I run over the snowmobile that I'm trying to get unstuck. That's usually what happens.
You destroy someone's helmet, fill it with snow.
I've had to buy a couple side panels trying this maneuver, but it was worth it for sure. Okay, so we finally get some guys around there. Like we get Joe up there. I know Ben made it up. I think we ended up getting every single person up there. Actually, I know we did, which was awesome. And so, but here's where it got a little fun for me, right? So and this is, again, there's no winning with me here, right? So like, we finally get everybody up. I'm like, okay, cool. You guys got the Groom Trail up. Good job. Good job. You made it. But off to Looker's right, as you're going up the hill, we have this like log rock matrix of stuff, right? And I've jumped off of this crap before, and it's so cool. And most everybody doesn't even see it because they're like, why would anyone in their right mind go over here?
Yep.
And my words to you on the radio was what?
You're like, if you don't come up here right now, you are fired.
Fired, yeah. And I think it was, if you don't hit this thing pinned, you're fired.
I think that's what it was.
Yeah. And so, in true BBA spirit and not wanting to get fired, freaking here comes Blaine, dude, coming around the corner, and you can hear me coaching and cheering. I'm like, come on, Blaine, send it, buddy, send it. And dude, I'll let you talk.
Well, I think what you had in your mind was a little bit different than what
it
I
was.
had in my
It
mind.
was. Yeah.
But yeah, just come in full speed, and I just see these logs, Lincoln logs, sticking across, and I'm like, there's enough snow on those. I think I can, go up around that. And I didn't let off, and that day I was on a 63 boost.
Yep.
So I had some momentum going into that thing, and I just remember in the air, like, do I hold on to it? Do I let go? I was like, well, I can't throw the sled away because Chris is directly below in it. And I think I held onto that sled with my finger on the brake, and that was it. Let everything else go, landed.
That still photo I have of you of like literally one hand on the snowmobile, feet. I mean, you're like, it looks like a freestyle trick, right? and the sled straight up and down in the air. Oh man, just awesome.
Yeah, that was a great day. That was so much fun, and I'm glad I didn't total the sled and run into you. Like that was a good one.
Yeah. Well, so. And that was like literally first line of the day. That was first line.
Yeah.
So, and this is what's, pretty fun. It's got to be pretty fun for you is, like when you were a guide up at Steamboat for how many years?
I think it was 6 years.
6 years, right? So like, there wasn't a hole or line or something that, you hadn't been to or knew. And
I mean, I knew that area like the back of my hand.
Right.
And it was like, if we hadn't had snow for 3 weeks, I knew exactly where to go to get fresh snow. And depending on if the group could get there or not, like it was great to be able to explore a little bit further and push a little bit further, because there's a lot of terrain out there that you can keep going and going.
So year one as a sweep guy / guide here at BBA, I mean, talk about reversing the roles, right? Like, where are we going? I don't know where to go. What's over here?
Oh, it's almost like scary, where I'm like, I don't know these little nooks and crannies and little places to get through, because you have to go through some certain areas where you have like a 10-foot window to get to the next zone or the next chute to get to keep moving on. And not knowing it like the back of my hand, it added another element.
Yeah. So on this particular day, this was again, like when we started off that way, I knew exactly where round 2 was going, where we were going to go next. And where we were going to go next, it's one of those places where I put on my list, like, we only get to do it a time or two a year, because because you go in there and you literally destroy it, and it takes forever to get a reset with these big 4 and 5 foot trench holes.
Yep.
But again, today was that day. And so talk about the next zone. We had the log hops. We had that big, like, what for me is the definition of heaven, a deep drainage, like in and out and up and over and all of that stuff.
Yeah, by this point, I'm on cloud 9. We're getting actually to ride this day. We're not, doing the drills and the day one stuff. We're really getting after it. And we had a great group, like you said. And I remember sweep guiding, I was the last guy coming up, and I see some of these lines off to the left. There's like a single track going up to where we're going. And I see one line going off to the left. And I see like a tree that's laid down, and it's like 8 feet high, and the track goes up and over the tree. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, how is that even possible? And I think it might have been Ben in front of me. He stops, and he's like, dude, did you see that track back there? I was like, it could only been Chris. Like, but seeing it in person was like something else.
Well, and it's funny. I posted that just the other day, and you came in that morning, and I'm like, hey, do you remember this? And you're like, what is it? That's not the log. I'm like, I know, it doesn't even look like it, does it?
The video doesn't do it justice, but seeing it on the ground, it's just like, holy cow.
Well, when you could see under the log, like you can see what's on the other side underneath the log, it's pretty substantial.
Yeah, there was daylight under there.
Yeah. And so that particular line, and again, I'll get this one to Blake and he can put it up. The first log jump was pretty good. Ben bypassed that one.
Yep.
And then the second one, he was like, oh, hell no. And just his response, because I literally waited, because I wanted to continue the line. I'm like, I kind of want to see if Ben did it. And if he didn't, I kind of want to see what his reaction was. And his reaction was like, oh, no, man, I went right, like way right. And this is where it's like, so to your point of riding Steamboat for 6 years, I've been riding down here since 2012. And so like, and this is why I love like getting Kosturki down here, Keith Curtis down here, and like all the guys, right? I mean, dude, I know every single log and spot and where I can gain momentum, where I need to avoid. And so like, I mean, home field advantage is pretty nice. And this particular zone, I don't get there a bunch, but I do know that there are some places that you need to be on your toes.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, and I've noticed a few times last year going through some of these lines, I'm like looking back, or I'm actually getting stuck, and I'm looking over, I'm like, why are all these trees cut down on the side hill? And you come back down and be like, yep, Kyle cut that one, I cut that one. Like,
we have definitely, because, I mean, again, when you ride an area, it's where the snow ends up. That's where you ride a lot. And there's definitely some of those are laying around for sure. Yeah. The worst one is, this happened to me at Rabbit Ears, and this is no freaking joke. Like a couple years ago, I was on the dark side, and it was, it's so awesome over there and so steep and so gnarly. And I remember I like got into this little spot, and, I kind of was trying to wiggle and shake between these two trees, and I'm like, oh man, I got it. And all of a sudden my sled just stopped and it was spinning, and I'm like, no, I had it. Why won't it go? And there was a tree that had been cut off, most likely by me from the year before or something, stuck right up through my running board in like the absolute worst spot possible. And I was like, oh man, that tree really got redemption on me right there.
And it's hard to get to you when you get stuck. You don't get a whole lot of help.
I got a couple, actually, that was the next day. I got some pictures where I was on Burandt's backcountry adventure by myself. And I literally had to spend an hour because my sled actually rolled downhill into like 14 trees. And I could not, with everything I could do, like I ended up, I couldn't roll it back up. So I ended up having to dig this cave essentially of snow down to the ground just so I could get my sled back up. And then literally, dude, oh my God. So then literally I'm on the ground, right? And I'm like, man, I just need to get 4 feet. I went to go and the track slid out and high-sided me again and rolled into more trees.
Well, I remember that day spending 45 minutes just trying to get to you. And when I got to a point where I could see you, I'm like, I'm sorry, dude, you're on your own. Like, I'm not even walking there.
Oh gosh. So, I kind of rewind. So we get to the next shoot, and, this is another one, man. It's so fun to watch the guys, right? Like, we go up and do our line, and it's awesome. But, I truly get enjoyment of getting everybody up there and to see the reaction and to see, like, we want them to win.
Absolutely.
And the confidence to see the confidence that they gain and to know that, like, if they weren't riding with us, they wouldn't be pushing themselves like this.
Absolutely.
And that's, for me, after all of these years, it's like, I get the question all the time, like, how do you still like guiding? I'm like, dude, when you ride with, they're all friends now. When you get to go ride with friends who, are literally coming here because they believe in the program, they love what they get out of it, and they literally turn off all of the safety switches that they have when they are riding at home, and we get to go push them and make them better riders. How could I not like that,
It's so much fun to watch the progression. I just had 1 year here, and just seeing the progression over 3 days in some of these guys was like light years.
Yeah. Yeah. And imagine seeing 3 years, and so that's a lot of fun. And I guess, I'll kind of let you kind of cap this day off, it was, so, Blaine, you had been sweeping for, Andrew and Kyle a little bit, and you and TJ had worked a little bit. And so, and we have 2 different series, right? We have, because not everybody is ready for Shitville. We strive and work to try to get everybody to that point, and then eventually everybody gets there, right? But, for you to, come and run sweep for me, and like you said, you're like, oh boy, this is what it's like, really like,
And it was great to see how different, like, Andrew runs it, how Kyle runs it, and TJ, and then to kind of take a little bits and pieces from each one of your guiding styles and bring it to my own. I really enjoyed that. And, Andrew warned me early on. He's like, we have a lot of repeat customers and clients come back. Like, if you get them to be good enough snowmobilers, Chris will steal them. So if you get a good client in your group that you're having fun riding with, whatever you do, make sure they don't ride good in front of Chris, because he will steal them. And that happened multiple times this year.
Fairly guilty.
Yeah.
Yes, really guilty.
I can't blame you. I do the same thing. But
Yeah. Well, again, with your guys' requests of asking, hey, like, we love hearing the stories. Well, we love talking about the stories, and we're so fortunate to be able to have days like this. This is literally our job. This is what we get paid to do. It's again, it's hard to describe to people what exactly our program is about and what it is. But it's also why it's extremely hard to get in here, because everybody who comes here normally comes back, and the people that don't come back, it's, normally they want to go home and go practice and get ready for for the next round. Or sometimes guys just say, you know, this snowmobiling, this type of riding isn't for me, which is totally respectful and I understand. But it's also why we have two different programs, right? I mean, you know, Andrew has done like, you know, Andrew and Ryan. So we haven't got to talk about Ryan much, but you know, Ryan has really like his specialty is taking those guys who are like a little hesitant to come to BBA, right? Like, oh, dude, I don't know, man. I really just want to learn how to do what you guys do, but I'm scared I'm not ready for it. And, you know, you jumped in with both Ryan and Andrew a bunch this year. And, you know, to have a person like that who like, man, I want to do this, and that's all we need, right? We need the want, but I'm a little nervous. No problem. We'll get you there.
Yeah, Andrew and Ryan are really good at backing everything back, like stuff that we take for granted, like foot placement and where we're on the sled, like things that are just second nature now. It doesn't even like it goes right over the head to even think about teaching that because it's automatic. Or like where you place your hands on the bars or all that kind of stuff. Like to see Andrew really break it down from like 101, like this is how you stand, you know, you get your attack position, this is all your foot placement, and this is just how you know, you're not looking at your bumper, you got your eyes up and finger on the brake. And just to break it down on day one like that, really put it in perspective. Like we really got to rewind for some of these guys and make sure we're starting from a good foundation before we start working on those side hills and getting into the more technical stuff.
Yeah. Well, cool. So we're going to wrap this one up, guys. So just, you know, kind of some notes to take from this is, you know, if you have that group of buddies, don't be afraid. Like if you see something like, I wonder what's up there, go check it out, right? I mean, you have to have the necessary skill set of getting on edge, being able to park nose low, right? Like that opens up this whole different world to backcountry riding. And then being able to focus on carrying momentum, keeping those eyes forward, having a plan B, and just, you know, riding aggressive but in control, finger on the brake. When you can kind of knock those few little check marks off of the list, you can get some shit done. Awesome. Blaine, another great one. Appreciate it. It sure makes me excited to get into guiding season.
I mean, waking up to this fresh snow this morning, I was like, we're going riding soon, aren't we? I'm getting excited.
Yep. Cool, guys. Well, I appreciate it as always. You can Blake will be putting, well, if you're watching this to the end, you've already seen all the cool videos. So excited to have Blake back again this year and to be on a little bit more consistent schedule with the old content. So we'll keep rolling here, and until next time, let it snow.